For years, I manifested almost nothing. Years, doing all the techniques, reading all the books, following all the practices, and getting almost nothing in return. Then something shifted, and suddenly I was manifesting in days what used to take years. Not because I found a better technique, not because I discovered some secret method, because I finally understood what I'd been doing wrong the whole time. Tonight, I'm going to tell you exactly what that shift was. The single change that turned years of struggle into days of effortless manifestation. If you've been at this a while and seeing minimal results, you're probably making the same mistake I was making for years. And once you stop, everything accelerates. The people manifesting fast aren't more spiritual than you. They're not more deserving. They're not luckier. They've just figured out the one thing that takes manifestation from a years-long grind to a matter of days. You're about to figure it out too. For years, I was treating manifestation like a project, something I worked on, something I did. I had techniques, morning visualization, evening affirmations, daily journaling. I scheduled my manifestation work like it was a job, and I worked at it harder than most people work at anything. And it produced almost nothing. The problem wasn't effort. I had plenty of effort. The problem was that I was treating manifestation as something separate from my life, something I did for an hour a day while I lived as my old self the other 23 hours. You can't manifest a new life while spending 95% of your time being your old self. The 5% of manifestation work can't override the 95% of old identity. It just doesn't work that way. This is what most people are doing wrong. They have a manifestation practice. They don't have a manifestation life, and the practice can't overcome the life. The shift that changed everything was abandoning manifestation as a practice and making it my entire way of being, not what I do for an hour, what I am, all day, every day. That's when manifestation went from years to days. Here's what shifted. I stopped doing manifestation and started being the manifested. The wealthy version of me didn't visualize wealth for 30 minutes. They just lived as someone wealthy. The successful version didn't affirm success. They just carried themselves as someone successful. The loved version didn't journal about love. They just moved through the world as someone deeply loved. This shift sounds subtle, but it's enormous. Because being doesn't require effort. It just requires occupation. When you do manifestation, you're trying to bridge a gap between who you are and who you want to be. When you be the manifested, there's no gap to bridge. You're already there. This is why people who manifest fast don't have elaborate practices. They don't need them. They've simply become the version of themselves who has what they want. And from that being, the visible world catches up. So stop doing. Start being. Drop the manifestation practice and pick up the manifestation life. 24 hours a day, not 1 hour. And watch how quickly everything accelerates. The second thing that changed was I stopped checking. For years I checked constantly. Was it working? Were there signs? Had anything shifted? Every check was an inquiry. Every inquiry signaled doubt. And consciousness, faithful to the doubt I kept generating through checking, kept manifesting more reasons to doubt. The day I stopped checking was the day things started moving, because I finally stopped undoing my own work. This is hard to do, but it's essential. You have to assume your desire is done, and then stop verifying. No more scanning your life for evidence. No more measuring whether the manifestation is working. A wealthy person doesn't check whether they're still wealthy. They just are. A loved person doesn't check whether they're still loved. They just are. The checking is the activity of someone who isn't sure, and consciousness reflects exactly that uncertainty. When you stop checking, you signal complete commitment, total assumption. And consciousness responds by accelerating delivery, because there's no longer any internal contradiction blocking the manifestation. For years, I tried to figure out how my manifestation would happen, through what channels, from what direction, by what mechanism. This was killing me, because every time I tried to plan the how, I was operating from my current limited consciousness. And my current limited consciousness can't see the actual paths consciousness has available. It can only see what it already knows. When I stopped caring about the how, everything opened up. The how became consciousness's problem, not mine. My job was simply to be the version of me who has what I want. Consciousness would arrange the delivery through whatever channels were actually best, channels I couldn't have imagined, let alone planned for. This is the surrender that fast manifestors understand. You don't engineer your manifestation, you assume it, and then you let consciousness handle everything else. The how is not your concern. The being is your only concern, and when you finally release the how, manifestation accelerates dramatically. Because consciousness is no longer constrained by your limited ideas about how things should happen. The biggest shift was learning to live in the end, not visualizing the end, living in it, walking through my ordinary day as the version of me who had already received, making decisions from there, speaking from there, carrying myself from there. This is completely different from imagining the end during a meditation session. This is occupying the end all day in your real life. The wealthy version of me made coffee in the morning as a wealthy person. The successful version answered emails as someone successful. The loved version went to bed as someone deeply loved, not in some peak emotional state, just in the ordinary, settled, taken for granted way that those versions of me would simply be. Living in the end isn't a practice, it's a lifestyle. It's choosing to inhabit the identity of who you want to be in every ordinary moment, regardless of what your current circumstances show. This is what created the speed, because consciousness reflects who you're being, not who you're trying to become. And when you're being the end shows up, fast. For years, I treated my desires as special, sacred, important, life-changing, and while that felt good, it was actually keeping them away from me, because special things are by definition not yet yours. Special things are out there, separate, elevated, and as long as my desires felt special, they remained outside my ordinary life. The shift came when I started treating my desires as completely ordinary, as mundane as my own toothbrush, not exciting, not magical, just normal parts of my normal life. When I assumed wealth, I didn't feel a rush of excitement. I felt as ordinary about it as I feel about having a kitchen. Just, of course I'm wealthy. Why would I be excited about something so obvious? This casualness is what created the speed, because consciousness only confirms what feels natural to you. And as long as your desires feel special, they don't feel natural. The moment they feel ordinary, consciousness has no choice but to confirm them. So stop making your desires special. Make them mundane, as boring as a Tuesday afternoon, and watch how quickly they become your actual reality. I used to engage with every doubt that came up, analyze it, argue with it, try to defeat it, and every engagement gave the doubt more power. The day I stopped engaging was the day doubt started losing. When a doubt arises now, I notice it without engagement. There's the old voice, noted. And I return to my assumption, without arguing, without justifying, without trying to win against the doubt. This isn't suppression, it's just refusing to feed. Doubt only lives on attention, and the moment you stop giving it attention, it weakens. Most people lose their manifestations because they treat every doubt as a serious participant in their decisions. They let doubt have a vote on what they assume, and doubt always votes for the safer, smaller, more limited option. Fast manifestors don't let doubt vote. They notice it, they let it pass, and they keep being who they've decided to be. This single discipline accelerates everything, because the assumption never gets undermined by doubt's commentary anymore. The single most powerful practice I added was this. Every night, before sleep, I felt my desire as already done. Not visualized it coming. Felt it as already received, as complete, as mine. Just for a few minutes, not elaborate. Just the settled, ordinary feeling of someone who has already received what they wanted. Carrying that feeling as I drifted off to sleep. This single nightly practice did more for my manifestation speed than years of daytime work. Because in those moments before sleep, the conscious mind releases its grip and the subconscious absorbs everything you give it. When I started doing this nightly, things accelerated dramatically. Because my subconscious was being fed the completed state every single night, integrating it, making it more familiar. If you do nothing else from this lecture, do this. Feel your desire as done as you fall asleep, every night, without fail. and watch how quickly your reality starts catching up. Here's where we land tonight. The reason your manifestation has been slow isn't because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're treating it as something you do instead of who you are. Tonight, that changes. Drop the practice. Pick up the lifestyle. Stop being your old self most of the day with occasional manifestation sessions. Start being the manifested version of you, all day, every day, with no exceptions. Stop checking. Stop planning the how. Stop making it special. Start living in the end. Stop engaging with doubt. Feel your desire as done before sleep. These aren't separate practices. They're one shift, from doing manifestation to being the manifested. When you make this shift, everything accelerates. What used to take years starts taking days, not because the law changed, because you finally stopped working against it through inconsistent identity. The fast manifestors aren't doing more. They're doing less, but being more. Less effort, more embodiment. Less practice, more identity. You can join them tonight, right now, just by deciding to stop manifesting and start being. The version of you who already has what you want, occupying that identity completely, without exception, all day, every day. And watch as your reality transforms faster than you ever thought possible. Because it can. And it does, for everyone who finally makes this shift. Tonight, you make it. The fast manifestors aren't doing more. They're being more. Stop manifesting. Start being the manifested. And watch as years of waiting turn into days of arrival.